Hello everybody, it's me, Ray-Kon here, and today we will be talking about a very specific topic, and a topic that is close to my heart, mostly because it involves one of my favorite units that exists in CardfightVanguard, and his name is Shieldfisher. So, when talking about Shieldfisher, the simple thing is that this is a grade 3 unit with 18k base power, a simple twin drive, and a particular skill that reads this. This unit can only attack if you call a rearguard other than from hand this turn, Vanguard and rearguard. So, this card is fairly simple in how the skill operates and how it affects, well, and how it activates. And it's just that this card is just a base 18k power. It's a common card. So, I want to point out, and something that I enjoyed from Bushiroad, from simply this card, is not just that it's an 18k beater of a card like you can have a Vanguard Rear. So if you just want somebody that's just base big, it's pretty good. But mostly because it's a Vanguard unit, and it's a Vanguard unit that they have supported apparently with other cards. Apparently, when this card got its first support, which was the Blessed Rain Fairy, which I'll talk about in a second, it also followed with other nations getting a sort of common to rare card, if I remember correctly, that was going to be their boss monster. Obviously, these cards are not meant to be super effective or to be incredibly strong or meta revived. If anything, these are mostly how the community sees them as sort of joke cards, as in joke vanguards that you can use for the game. A lot of these cards genuinely just don't come in with any type of gameplay. In Shieldfisher's case, it's an 18k. He's the highest base attack there is that you can ride on a Vanguard in the current state of D format. But there also the thing is that this is the only card amongst all the supposed boss monsters, quote unquote, that actually has a particularly decent support, because the support for the other types of archetypes, which at the moment I do not remember the names, but they shall come up in the screen in a second. They mostly only get really power boosts and not necessarily trying to contribute to the unit's scale or so on and so forth. I imagine they could have just added some generics, because when Shieldfisher first came out, it had its own types of generic cards that could run with it just to get the superior call. Some of them being Coffin Shooter, or a grade 2 unit that shall appear on the screen right now that I remember correctly. There was a Counterblast Soul Blast Severe Call something from the drop with grade less or equal to your Vanguard and against a plus 5k power. But one of the cards that appeared was Blessed Rain Fairy. Unit reads as this. Drop zone. If you have Vanguard with Shieldfisher in its card name, counter +1, call the card to rear guard against 5k power. Fairly simple ability. It uses a counterblast, so it is a bit tough if you want to use more counterblast heavy playstyles. But overall, getting a card plus an extra 5k by just one counterblast without needing synergy of other cards is particularly neat, considering other options for Coffin Shooter. And for Coffin Shooter to operate properly, Coffin Shooter need a order on drop zone, and then you have to pay soul in order to activate the skill for a superior call with no booster whatsoever. So that was it. And then the one that we got this year, and 2 sets ago in the set from Destined Showdown, the beginning of it, we got Headless Assault, which reads Drop Zone. If you upgrade your good Vanguard Shieldfisher in its card name, Energy Blast 3, call this card to your open rear card, shoot your Vanguard against 5k power. So it's a bit more restrictive in the way it can be played. You can't call it on top of other things compared to Blessed Rain Fairy, but it also has a very interesting ability. I wouldn't say ability, but more a use, where it can actually contribute to the Vanguard's power more than its own power. So if your opponent has a unit, a very rare instance and nearly impossible considering D format, if you can throw this unit to its lone circle with a simple booster or another, you can just throw this guy and it will be perfectly fine. And you can just throw Blessed Rain Fairy in its own roll because it will be 13k. So it will be enough to just hit basic attack, which is very neat. But what I really want to focus about is mostly just how simple but effective Shieldfisher is. While it's not has any actual skill that can be applied on battle, what most people don't give it a lot of thought was how effective that extra 5k power is. If you want to have an idea how effective this is essentially like giving an extra 5k shield to all your cards while you're guarding, which is very nice. And it's also partially the reason why I actually enjoy Shieldfisher. I myself enjoy defensive style decks, so like the Direful Dolls are very nice, and any deck that can have a specific defensive capability is just something I particularly enjoy. Some of my favorite decks in premium format, for an example, is the Deleter deck, but not just any Deleter deck, is the Dito Deleter deck, where he copies my opponent's Vanguard's attack during the battle phase. And considering the format, my opponent usually is in the 27, 28 power mark, or even higher, depending on the boss monster they're playing. So this tends to be very interesting and generally something that just vibes. Another card that I also vibe with is the King of Mass Dantarian for the V format. That he has a very nice playstyle where he can use Great 2 or higher units from the Soul as Guardians. And there's a lot of cards that actually take advantage of this, of either having a lot of Soul and just adding a lot more shield and either recycling themselves into the bind zone, into the deck, or just going into drop zone and then being able to recycle those cards back to Soul. Which, okay, I got a bit distracted there by talking about cards I like. The point is that what you wrote, something I really have to applaud is just this particular design. Shieldfisher is such a simple card in retrospect. He's just an 18k body that can't be it, can't attack if I don't call from drop zone, deck, or whatever, as long as it's not from hand. But it's very effective and genuinely can lead to the community mostly thinking of strategies on how to actually make this unit be able to work. For an example, a deck that I prepared myself for in order to use this is to, by incorporating Blessed Fairy and Headless Assault, the other card that gives that incorporated into this particular deck, a Grade 1 centric deck, where I use Unwavering Mating and Yolanda in order to retire my Grade 1 units that I already use, which would be Headless Assault and also Blessed Fairies, to sacrifice them so that my attacking unit can gain a bit more power, and I can also cycle them to just get draw so I can activate their abilities next turn. Another card that I also added was Conceited Noble Cylinder, with Cylinder having a extra ability of just checking the top 5 and sending a card to drop zone, and also he becomes a bigger unit by itself. Another card that I actually added to apply to the playstyle is Meteor Cavitat. Meteor Cavitat is just genuinely just a solid card that if you have the space in your deck, or it's just something you can afford, then just add it, because Meteor Cavitat has the very neat quirk that if you ever check this card in the Meteor Cavitat search, it still counts for its own ability, since its ability is that if this card can be chosen, then it can be chosen. So if it's shown, then it can be searched by an ability. So if you ever not get a card you want, then you can use Meteor Cavitat to get Meteor Cavitat, so it detects it regardless. Also, if you call it by accident, it also goes to your hand. So it's genuinely a very solid card. And that's just one of the many decks that you can actually try with Shieldfisher, with how simple and just precise he is. All you need is an alternative way of calling. So you could run this with tokens, you could run with more specific other cards that typically call from drop, which there's a few of them. You can try whatever. It's just genuinely something I genuinely appreciate. And honestly, if there's something I could hope for Bushiroad, is for one, for them to fix their deck ratios, and B, to just make more interesting cards like this. This is the type of card design I would like to see. I was actually very proud when they started making like promo grade 3 units that at first were a bit difficult to get, but like now getting them is not that difficult. To be specific, one of the top decks now is one of the budget decks that was a promo card that a lot of people enjoyed, but was not that strong. But thanks to a support it recently got, instead of making it a promo, they made it actually a staple deck. Thank God they did that. They actually made the deck incredibly better and actually a lot more accessible. So honestly, that might have been a mistake, or it might have been on purpose, but honestly, that's a good job for sure. I gotta give you props. Hopefully, in the future, we will be seeing more supports like this, more like Shieldfisher, more support for Shieldfisher. I genuinely am grateful if you're able to make more Shieldfisher support, or if you're able to make it so that this support retires, because if you can make this support for Shieldfisher retire the cards and give me a bonus like an extra draw, and then like power to the front row or something like that, something that could, he's on board to give it to my Vanguard, I would genuinely appreciate it. Or just anything that just works with Shieldfisher fairly well enough, and plus any of the others. Anything that can make my grade 1 stronger and Shieldfisher even stronger than ever. And that's it. Thank you everybody for coming. And honestly, we shall be probably talking about the other boss monsters, fails compared to Bushiroad's perfection. He's my favorite guy. What can I say? I'm a bit biased. And with that, and if that's all, well, thank you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any ideas for future video or your own opinions on this subject matter, please leave in the comments below so we can have a nice discussion, and probably we can make a video of it if it's interesting enough or you think it would be entertaining enough. With that said, thank you everybody for coming, and I'll be seeing you guys later. Bye!